For the first 5 or 6 years in the NBA, I didn't want to talk to Slam magazine at all. Like they had said something against me or stained my name or whatever that may be.
This is Russ Bengtson, former editor-in-chief of Slam. Today we're going to be talking with Ray Allen, the number 5 pick in the 96 draft, about that draft and my picking him as the most likely to fade into obscurity. Didn't work out that way. Take me back to 96 and, entering the draft and, the build up to that.
The draft was being held in New York City. And I was in LA and I was doing a TV show. It might have been Jim Rome. There was a day after that where I had to fly back to New York. My family was already in New York for pre-draft activities. Up to this point, I had visited Philly, who had the number 1 pick. Toronto and Vancouver had 2 and 3, and then Milwaukee, who had 4. And then Minnesota had 5, but I was slated as a top 4 pick. So on my way back to New York, I got a call that Minnesota wanted me to fly in on the way back and visit. Before I left for the draft, in my room, I got a call from Red Auerbach and ML Carr saying that if I fell to number 6, Boston was going to pick me.
Okay.
6th pick. So I was like, okay, cool. I got to make it. If I make it to 6th pick, then I'm still in New England. I'm going to become a Celtic, which I was like head over heels with. Come the draft, it happens exactly how we expected. 1, 2, 3. AI, Marcus Camby, Sharif Abdul-Rahim. Steph is sitting there, the camera's on this table, number 4 pick, and immediately I get excited because I'm now gonna be going to the Boston Celtics. Because I'm like, Minnesota, I didn't even visit them. Like, why would they pick me? I don't know anything about them. Bam. Minnesota on the clock, and the cameras come over to my table. And I was so confused. I couldn't believe what was happening. I was angry. I was like, why would you pick me? And you got J.R. Ryder already on your roster. So Minnesota picks me. I'm so confused. I go in the back and I'm having a conversation with people from Minnesota, their local news stations, and I'm over here like filibustering on what it's going to be like to J.R. Ryder. It just didn't make sense to me. And within 5 minutes of those conversations, somebody from the NBA removes me and says, I've been traded. And now I went into a further depression because I'm like, wow, I'm an NBA player and I've already been traded. Just like that. And everybody in Milwaukee, Bradley Center at the time, is booing the trade. And everybody, the media is asking me all these questions and they're letting me know that they're booing the trade. So I'm like, geez, I laugh about it now, but it just seemed like it was so many, such a roller coaster of emotions at the time. And I thought I should have been happier than I actually was.
Now, those shoots, because you had more than one. You had the card ones and stuff. Were those kind of like the draft all over again, where it's like you're getting into order and like who's in the front part?
I don't think so. I think we just ended up where we were, and the photographer, I don't remember who he was. He basically doesn't know who's who. Like you have a picture and you have names, but there's no hierarchy that exists. At that moment, you know who the number 1 pick is, but that really is irrelevant.
And he wasn't there anyway.
Yeah. It's so irrelevant to the trajectory of our careers.
That's what the cool thing about that cover. I feel like it wasn't legendary, if you want to call it that, right away. It took time to build out, and you had like by that second season, Kobe and Antoine were all-stars, and then Marcus, and then Jermaine, it took 4 years before he started to play. Mm-hmm. And now look at, you, Kobe, Hall of Famers.
And one of the great things, that about the 96 draft class that I appreciated was I was still in competition with Iverson. I was still in competition with Kobe. You know, I respected Steve and Nash and where he came from and what he was able to do, coming from Canada to Santa Clara. And so everybody had a story that which you come from nothing to now you're in a part of this class where everybody's got their own struggles and their own adversity.
Which leads us, of course, to the infamous Slam Most Likely Twos. But what do you remember of even picking up that issue? I don't think you knew I was the one who said that.
Yeah, I knew. I was just curious. And it was good to see, you know, just because I've never seen that before. And then when I looked at it, it just was like you're looking at it, you're going down, and then all of a sudden you see this list, and all of a sudden, you know, my shoulders dropped because it really bothered me. Because even though at the time I knew what obscurity meant, I had to look it up in the dictionary because I wanted to make sure that I had it right, you know, being said. You know, for the first 5 or 6 years in the NBA, I didn't want to talk to Slam Magazine at all because I felt like, you know, like they had said something against me or stained my name or whatever that may be. It made me have to dig deep inside who I am and who I was. And so that was so important to me, and it helped me, you know, kind of focus in and do what I needed to do to be successful. I said, you know what? This was a godsend for me. I needed to hear this. I needed somebody to tell me that I wasn't what I thought or hoped to be, and now I need to work on this forever.
Was there a lasting bond between you guys as the class of '96? I mean, would you guys talk when you ran into each other? Would the draft come up, or would that weekend come up amongst you guys? Or
no, we weren't that tight of a class. But you know, just in hindsight, you know, with Kobe passing, it really shed light on just the idea of how you don't have enough time. You know, we could sit back and say, well, maybe one day we'll get together and just kind of reflect on past times. But when you lose somebody like Kobe, you say to yourself, like, man, I thought at some point, someday, you know, we'd be sitting around talking about, you know, just kind of everything that we went through and what it was like, the battle.